Good afternoon. No one watching at the moment. Not to be surprising, really. I am just about to record tripod setup, unboxing of my latest tool, which is a birthday present to myself with money bought that was given several months ago, and that is for, I need to find a better place for that actually, this, which is a 1" by 30" belt combination disc sander. Alright, let's see if I can get this somewhere where... Hey! Hi, Andy. How you doing? Awesome work you were doing the other week. Well, I can see you were getting very, very tired. You're a better man than I, because I would have been making a serious load of mistakes if I looked half as tired as you did. But you are a far better maker than I am. So, oops, put that. Got a little heater. Father-in-law gave me a little tube heater, kind of frost heater. So hopefully I'm not going to have to take my gubbins out of the tinkerage this winter. I just need to make some brackets for it. Let's see if I can get a thermostat so it auto turns on. Not happy with that there. Block of wood. That'll do nicely. So just bought this, taken me months to decide what to get. It's just fairly cheap, 30" by 1" belt sander and disc sander. Haven't got room for anything bigger in here, unfortunately, but it'll be really useful to be sort of shaping things. So I want to start playing around with some of these scraps of yew that I've got. My youngest is doing a craft sale next weekend, and kind of hoping to have a few kind of key rings and things that she can put on the table. So I'm going to record a video, which I now mostly do on my phone. So live feed is on a little action cam and microphone. Well, a word from the wise: if you've got a microphone that needs a battery, turn it off. Hi Duncan. Hi Jim. Yeah, if you've got a battery operated microphone, don't leave it switched on for 3 months since your last live feed. Luckily, it only takes one single button cell, and I just happen to have one left. How you doing, Jim? Not working today, I hope. Not a day for farmers down here today. We've had And so we've probably had a good inch of rain already this morning, and 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts, certainly. And that's my youngest tennis was cancelled after I delivered her. She was happy to play in the rain. So yeah, it's my intention today. I'm just going to get this unboxed. I've done a bit of clearing up this morning because it was a little bit of a mess. I've been working on a commission for a friend. That's 90% done. Another, just a little bit more sanding, just taking up another grit level, and then some finish. So that should be nice. I showed her a picture of it this morning. She was very pleased with how it's coming on. And so I'm going to turn some of the scraps into bits and bobs. Thinking letter opener from that. Not sure yet. Kind of twisting the wrong way. I need to kind of be able to twist it. So yeah, I've finally decided. People that know me well know that I'm not quick at making decisions. Fairly good in emergency kind of decisions. I tell you, in emergency, I can generally, let's just do something. I'll get on, something will get done. But if it's not an emergency, I tend to be very slow. So my birthday was way back in July. Not a particularly big birthday, but a big one next year. Yeah, a bit of a serious one next year. But as a lot of people tend to do with me now, they tend to give me a bit of money rather than buy me presents because they don't know what I really want and what I have. And so I then have to spend time thinking about what am I going to get for the best value for my money for what I want to do. And sometimes it's fairly easy and sometimes it's a bit harder. So I mean, a couple of tool show started last month, the Record Power Show. And I did have a look at a few things there. And I did look at what I think is essentially the copy of this. Actually, I'll start my recording bit because I'm basically recording. So I've got my phone here. I'm going to do my kind of camera bits, and then I'll explain. Well, you'll get a hang of what's happening as this goes along. So I'll do my welcome back to Tinkerage. But if you're really impatient, it's a 30 by 1 inch belt sander. So welcome back to the Tinkerage. Unboxing today. It's unboxing and first impressions. I'm not going to call it a review video. I don't like doing reviews until I've used something for many weeks, ideally months. So Bandsaw, for example, had that for a good while before I did a review of it, or before I felt able to give a good review of it. But a bit of an unboxing and first impressions today. I've just purchased this week a 30 inch by 1 inch belt and disc sander. So it's a 5 inch disc sander. This is a Sealy. It's one of the cheaper models. It's not the cheapest. I bought it from Amazon, so it came quite quickly. I did look at the Axminster, which is virtually the same. And there are a number of others that are pretty much identical. Shepak do one that doesn't look, in fact, much different from this at all. There's a few little differences in kind of sort of some of the knobs. And there's some differences in the platens that are used, depending on which manufacturer. I suspect there's probably 1 or 2 factories in the world making 1 inch by 30 inch with 5 inch disc sanders. This one is small, and that's what I wanted. It's a little bit more powerful than the Axminster model. This one is rated at 250 watts. The Axminster is rated at 190 watts. I'm hoping that extra little bit of wattage for just, I think it was about £2 or £3 difference in price, will give me a little bit more power if I want to do any metal work. I am contemplating doing a little bit of work with a bit of sort of make a few knives. So I've got a few things planned for that. I've got my old couple of old climbing backpacking knives here that I want to tidy up and do some fixing with. So when I unbox this today, I've literally, all I have done so far is open up the top. I've not even gone as far as opening it any further than that. So I'll do the standard kind of thing. Yeah, it's all on the box. Yeah, if you can't quite read it from the screen you're looking at, it's a 30-inch. That's 762 millimeter belt. So belts are, this pack of belts are all at the same time. Nice little smile. So belts are about yay big. 1 inch wide, 25 millimeters. There's a 125 millimeter sander on the side. That's 5 inches. I don't know what 250 watts is in horsepower. It's not a huge quarter, maybe even less than that. So let's get it unboxed. As usual, these things are fairly well packed. I bought the Sealy one. It's kind of, they claim to be a British manufacturer. Like most of these things, they are purchased from large companies in China. But this is a British-based company, and it's nice to get to the point where we're not having to give plastic bags away. I know it's trying to protect it from when it's in transport. I'm not going to read through this in great length, but the assembly does look to be about a page and a half. First page and a quarter is just all the general safety bump. A little bit of a speed. What's the speed? Belt speed's 845 meters per minute. And disc speed 2,850 RPM. So the assembly looks, it's about 2 and a bit pages for assembly. I may have to kind of pause the recording to get that. Operation, fairly standard, it's about a quarter of a page there. And I do like it when you get diagrams showing where all the bits go, and even better when they actually give you a list of the various parts with part numbers. Some of those part numbers include things like the size of the washer. So we've got M5 x 19 repair washer, and some of the nuts and bolts also have their sizes, M6 x 16. So useful if you want to replace something. So I may have to pause this and come back to that in a moment, but let's get the stuff out of the box before we do that. Platens. Now, one of the things I noticed when I was looking at different models to choose from is it did seem to be a variety of different sort of shapes. You could tell that they're pretty much the same sander. The arrangements are the same. Power switches in the same position, so there's a little bit of variation for different models. Some of them have very square, some have rounder sections. So that's for the disc sander. Cast aluminium. Some other bits and bobs in there. I won't strip that out for the moment. The little mitre gauge, which is actually tiny. I think there's loose bits in there. Oh, yep, the little Allen key. So tiny little mitre gauge, isn't that dinky? Do you like that? And do lots of Lego, so let's double check packs just in case there's anything small. The platen for the belt part, again, some square, some round. I don't think it's much of a muchness. I think it'd be fairly easy. At some point, I probably will make some additional little plates from some metal or from some wood. If I want to sort of change, work on something a little bit larger. Get the polystyrene out of the way, and it looks like it's a side exit one. I did, for the similar sort of money, for a few pounds more, I could have bought 4-inch 100mm belt sander with a 6-inch disc. Right, looks like huge drop of styrene, nothing else in there. So put that out of the way. So I could have bought a 6-inch disc, 4-inch belt for probably less than £10 more, but I just don't have the space. I really do not have the space. There possibly ways that I could get some more space in here. I've got a couple of boxes full of kind of sort of metal and bits. If I have more space down in the shed, so I could probably get rid of those and then slide them in. But it's also, you know, I think they were averaging about 20 kilos. 15 was, I think, the lightest I saw. This one, let's see what the official specs say. 7 kilos, so 14 pounds ish. So it's easy enough to handle. And those that know me well know that I have quite bad back injury. That means bending over particularly and picking heavy things up is a big problem. So I do have to be careful and thoughtful about the machines. Getting my scroll saw out, which is quite heavy. Well, sometimes it just doesn't happen. So I needed something that was light. I needed something that was small. I'm sure I would love to have a 4-inch sander, but I do have a 3-inch belt sander, which kind of portable belt sander, which I sort of clamp upside down when I need that kind of width. Lead seems reasonably long, which is good. I've got sockets kind of over here. I've got sockets over there. I don't have, actually, no, I do have, because I did extend some sockets at back here, but that's for kind of computer. I'll look over there. Just having a kind of look at it. I did look at another brand when I was at the tool show, which was very similar to this. I won't mention particularly which brand. And I wasn't that impressed, even quite quickly, with the quality of the build. I spent quite a bit of time looking at it. I even asked the guys if I could take it off the kind of sort of shelf it was on, had a good look. And it was bugging me, particularly as when I kind of sort of asked, that would have been the one that I would have been able to buy if I'd bought it. And even with the trade price, it was essentially the same price as this. So I wasn't happy with that. So it kind of almost put me off for a while of getting one. But I've been working on a commission lately where actually having a belt sander would have been really nice. So dust extraction on these is it's pretty much the same for all of them. We've got one filthy belt sander. And I suspect, yeah, I'm going to have to make some sort of adapter. This one, I need to make an adapter for this. This is my Triton. The other side of that. So I'm going to need an adapter on that. But that's something I knew I'd probably have to do anyway. For the disc, we have this piece here, which is going to mount on there. We need the instructions for this. 3 screws, Phillips head. So let's get these screws in. Let's get that on. This is a self-adhesive disc on here. So essentially it's a flat metal plate. That isn't something I'm overly fussed about, but I couldn't find an alternative. So unless anyone can tell me better, one of the things that I'm planning to do is to replace this disc, possibly not straight away, with a replacement 5-inch random orbital sander hook and loop pad so that I can use hook and loop discs, so I can change the discs more quickly. I do need to check to see if kind of the clearance on the platen will be sufficient for that. I'm hoping it will be. If it's not, I'll have to come up with a plan B. Actually, that's a Phillips. That's interesting. It's not Positron, it's Phillips. Actually, this will do. So, fiddly. Get one in, that should make life a lot easier. First impressions for this, just looking at it, the build quality does appear to be better than others that I've looked at. I have looked at that's interesting. It appears to be some sort of clip that I need to get into place. Yes, I need to actually slide that in first at that end. Now maybe I should read the instructions, but yes, so there's a little slide. So if we can see that here, see the little groove there. That's going to slide onto this down here. And it just matches up with that, and that should put then the holes in the right place. And it looks like it does. I think if something is well designed, it should be fairly easy to assemble without looking at instructions. The belt and disc are already installed. So that should I'm not going to change the belt now. I think this is supplied with 80 grit. No, it's a P100. So it's a 100 grit. There we go. So that just slots into place there. Surface quality, there is obviously some machine grease just from production, and yeah, a lot of companies will put it on for kind of transportation. Yeah, this is, I suspect, made in China. Let's just have a little look. Doesn't say on here. Overall build quality looks okay. There is a little bit of a few scratches on here. There's a little scratch there. It won't take much to take that out, and I will take that out because yeah, I'll sand that off at some point. It's no big deal. It's certainly not a. Let's see where the hole is. Certainly not a deal breaker. The screws on here Those are the knobs. It's quite a hard plastic. My fingers are now a little bit greasy, obviously from unpacking this. So I'm not sure that's necessarily the best shape. I'm sure I can change those if I need to. Maybe get some lever arm ones if I find that that's a pain. I suspect most of the time that will be set at 90. There is a bit of a scale on the outside. There's a bit of a scale here, and it'd be interesting to see actually how far off that is. If I set that to 0, let's just loosen that one. And see if I can find square. Use me square. Square stuck behind the camera. There we go. I'll use this plastic one. Yeah, that does appear to be off. This isn't brilliant, but yeah, I've set it to 0 on there, and there's probably about 1 millimeter difference at the far end of the platen. This isn't a precision piece of equipment. It's for shaping wood mostly and plastic, so I'm not too worried about that. So one last piece to put on, and then we'll see how it works. I'm not going to sound too much in here, not without setting up some better extraction. Another empty bag. Put this down there. Now that's an interesting sort of little tell as well. Like a lot of cheap mitre gauges on bandsaws and table saws. Yeah, this you can hear the slop. So there has to be close to. Where's my ruler gone? My ruler should be hanging up there. So I'm taking it to the house or something. Let's use that one instead. So there is close to. Yeah, it's less than 1 millimeter, more than half a millimeter. Probably about 0.6 of a millimeter slop in that. Not too difficult to sort out, but again, it's not a precision machine, so I'm not going to be too worried about that. What I will probably do at some point is check the square of it when pushed against one side, because I'm going to be pushing into the disc, so not a problem there. Right, one last thing. Right, for those on live stream, just paused there. I'm getting close to the limit for single files. So let's just see who we've got. Oh, loads of people watching now. Fantastic. Hi, guys. Let's just scroll back through. So let's have a look. Duncan's already gone. That kid Masnam. No, I don't. I had to stop teaching. My back, basically my spine is collapsing. The discs, I have degenerative disc disease. So I couldn't spend, difficult to stand at times, particularly difficult to do things like sitting for any length of time. And what's a lot of students don't appreciate is that in the 20 hours, 25 hours of lessons they get a week, there'll be another 20 to 30 hours of marking and planning to go with that. So unfortunately, I had to give up. That's 20 years. Hi, Andy. Doing some good carving lately. How's the little one? Hi, Wayne. Edvards. Hi, Edvards. Name I haven't seen for a while. Lagjet. Hi, Lagjet. No picture there, not a name I recognise. Yeah, Masno and Ed were students of mine. I taught in the boys' grammar school a few years ago. And let's see who else we've got. Hi, James. Hi, Kiram. Yes, new belt sander Lagjet. Literally it arrived Wednesday. So ordered it on Tuesday. It's the first time I had a chance to open it up, and I'm recording for those who missed the start of it. I'm actually recording for live for a video, an unboxing video, first impressions video. Oops, just jumped a bit. Lagjet, this is the 30-inch, 20 by 1-inch, 762 by 25mm Sealy, which is the same as pretty much the Shepak, same as the Axminster. From what I can see, pretty much they're all identical. There's some very little differences. The power switches move around in a couple of different places on a few of them, but there's a couple of different variations in the shape of the platens, but otherwise they're the same. And yeah, there's some variation in price. Okay, bye Tony. Trick or treaters on a Saturday. It was 2 days ago. So at the moment I can't recommend, but this hopefully will do the job. Yeah, they get cold, Andy. Yeah, they do, and snotty, and they sneeze all over you, and yeah, they get grumpy. Hey, it's great, Masnam. Where are you at now? You still at university? I've lost track of time. It's in fact in 8 days' time it'll be 2 years since I last stood in a school. Well, in fact, I didn't even get into that day. I got sent home because I basically couldn't stand up. So yeah, let me know where you're at. It's always good to hear where. Yeah, I mean, they're saying now sitting's the new smoking. I mean, with my back, there's a history to it. It's not just, there may be a genetic element to it. My dad had back issues. He also had the same issues of kind of overdoing it when you're not supposed to as well. So I worked for a really rubbish company at one point before I was a teacher, who had no thought to how people's health should be. Yeah, well, the stories, Ed, said, yeah. Second year at Kent. Yeah, it's 2 years at Christmas. 2 years at Christmas. 3 years at Christmas that I left Natch. So Stormtrooper sounds good, Andy. Look forward to seeing that. Well, yeah, I like to think that I'm a storyteller at heart. That's kind of my aim, is always to try and make physics accessible, and do that by relating it to the everyday world. All right. Now, this is going to be interesting. So I may have looked at the instructions to this next bit. Better turn that back on actually. Right, I'm fourth year, Frankie. That must be crikey. That must be final year, I'm assuming, unless you're doing kind of 5 years. I'm assuming that's also a master's. Doing a master's now. Oh, good luck for that. I hope you find out things. Physics game, actually, yeah, I think the physics game might come back alive. Yeah, do a PhD. If you can find the funding or if you can find a way of doing it, do a PhD. Yeah, I had opportunity for things slightly different back in my day. I had opportunity for a master's, but I couldn't get enough funding. Actually, it's biomedical engineering because that's something I was really fascinated by. Still am, and I kind of wish I had. I don't regret not, because regretting's no good at all. But yeah, it would have been interesting to do. But yeah, Physics Mad, which is my other one of my other channels, might be seeing a comeback. I'm thinking of doing some tutoring on Mr. Physics, and yeah, actually a bit more money coming in would be a good thing, especially when I buy more tools. So yeah, I'm hoping to maybe start doing some Physics Mad videos again. I haven't done any of those in 2 years. 18 months. No, it's over 2 years. So that's one thing that's might start back up. And hopefully, possibly doing a little bit of tutoring. I'm not going to do much. I'm going to be very selective about that. It's going to be a case of maybe taking on people I choose rather than just taking on absolutely anyone, because I don't want to waste my time on that. But I think I've still got something to offer on that. Right, I am going to resume recording. So I've got, at the moment, video-wise, no, I'm nowhere near the watch time. I'm on 104,000 minutes in the last 12 months. And to monetize, you need 240,000. So I'm still a long way off. I need something viral. I'm not sure what yet, but I need to come up with something that's absolutely viral, that just gets my time up and then just carry on as normal otherwise. So I think if I can get something viral, that would be good. Get the time up. But I think I just need to keep putting videos out. So I've recorded. I've got 2 that I've uploaded for editing this morning. Just take a playlist on. That'd be great. Overnight, be fantastic. Thank you. So yeah, I've got just had our utility, which is next door, plastered, because when I installed it about 7-8 years ago, I didn't get it plastered. So we've had somebody in to plaster that. So I've just done a thing about installing the hose into the back of the tumble dryer, because that's a bit odd and catches a lot of people out. I've recorded another one this morning about changing a watch battery. So it's kind of little evergreen bits of content. And then this one I'll get recorded. So hopefully I'll get a couple of videos up over the next few days. I'm toying with the idea of just kind of getting them prepped and then just putting them up on a kind of a regular posting. But then a bit of me thinks I'm just going to put them up, and then they're up. They're getting watched. I don't think I'm necessarily quite big enough for. Right, so I just got to work out. I've got a spare washer here, which I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that for attaching the sanding belt table. Because it isn't mentioned. Now the camera switched off again. Section hand tighten the stage, push the lock-in lever onto the inner portion. So this bit's got a actually it's a little ratchet. I'll deal with that. I don't want to dismantle it. Right, so I have a bolt in here, not a bolt, a washer, which is not on any of the pictures. Well, let's see if it's on dismantled one. Right. Yep, no, I was in the right place. Yeah, so that goes in first. So it's fascinating how these things are written, because you've got one thing written in here or shown on here. So the washer is shown in position on there, but there is absolutely no mention of it in any of the rest of that. So the picture there, which shows this part, has no washer. I shall mention that in a moment when I get back onto recording. I'll turn this thing back on. Every time the camera doesn't get switched on, it kind of goes back into standby and it goes back to photography mode on the other camera. Right, so back onto recording. Okay, so last thing to put on is the platen, the table for the sanding belt. So it has a little adjustment screw for getting the level right. I'm not going to do that on camera. Fairly straightforward. There's a hex head bolt in there, locking nut. So you just adjust it up and down till the level's right. So that's something I've got to do. Now here's an interesting little part. In the assembly instructions, it shows how you can dismantle this entire thing, which I'm not going to do. It does not mention anything about this washer, which came in the pack with this handle. But if you look on the disassembled, then we have the diagram here, which shows a little bit of the table there, and we do have the washer. So I'm going to put that on there like that. So this looks like it has to go in with belts thin. And then we have a captured nut inside this little hole. Just to make it easier so you can still see it, and tilt that back. Now this is tricky because there's a limited range of motion. The handle here is one of these ones where it can be, you push in or you pull back on the handle and it allows for limited motion. So essentially like a ratchet. In order to get that thread into place, what I'm doing is I'm just putting back on the handle and then just turning the body with my other hand. Until it's captured enough. Could take a while. Right, it is going to need adjustment. I can see that already. Let's say that again. It is going to need some adjustment. I can see that already. The table is going to actually hit the belt if I put that flat. So I can see, and you might be able to see, it's off flat there, and there's about 1 millimeter of space in there. And I've still got, well, close to a centimeter of space on that adjustment screw. So even if I loosen that off and put it all the way up, that's hitting the belt and not hitting here. Now I notice that this back plate, which I think is more technically called the platen for the belt, has some adjustment screws, but it looks like it's already as far back as it can go. So I'll need to just have a little look at that, because if that's as far back as it can go, then this might be going back. Because if I can't get that to 90 degrees, that's not much use. Now, condition of this table is, it's got a couple of little scratches in it, but not a little nick like on that one. So I'm okay with that. Allen key, I'm just going to adjust this now while you're here. So it's clearly not set up for operation. Not going to loosen that one on there. Right, this platen at the back here is plastic. Okay, that's better now. There was a little bit of movement there. That's now looking not quite flat. I think I will still need to adjust it. It's not quite 90, but far closer. And it has bottomed out on the other one. So let's just tighten this up. So at some point I might replace that with some aluminium. Shouldn't be too difficult. Now there may be some adjustment needed. I can see there is a bit of a gap there. This is going to need some fettling, some tweaking. It might be that obviously with this sort of belt tensions will change that. I suspect if I run that, yeah, see that's scraping against. Oh, other way. Yeah, so some work is going to be needed on this. Right. So that's running okay. That's running okay. Not bumping into anything. I'm just going to give this a little bit of a try. I've got a piece of plywood here. Most of what I've got lying around is U. So it's from this from a commission that I'm working on at the moment. I'm not going to sand that without a mask. I shouldn't really sand anything without a mask. but I haven't got, no, I haven't really, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, when I'm recording and I go mess up, because this recording obviously is going to get edited, when I go mess up, I tend to go blah, 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 put my hand up like that and then start again. So I've got this little bit of plywood from a hole saw. I'm going to just see how that works, just taking that off. I'm not going to run vacuum because I don't have the right adapters. But what I will do is just put my respirator on. Because I really don't want a lung full of dust, even if it is fairly safe dust. But I mean, any dust is bad for you if you get into your lungs. But it's not like it's toxic. This stuff, U is toxic. Let's have a look. We're in. I like that. It's quiet. Certainly quieter than my belt sander. It's taking that little strip from the hole saw off nicely. That's P100. This feels like about an 80. So I would expect them to clear quite quickly. So yes, first impressions, I like it. I like it a lot. It's a tool that I should have bought months ago. Should have bought it years ago, to be honest, but certainly I should have bought it months ago. It's going to need a little bit of fettling and tweaking to get it running accurately. I'll probably swap, unless somebody can tell me a really good reason not to. I'm going to swap the self-adhesive disc here for a 5-inch, 125mm hook and loop system, so I can swap discs over depending on what I want to do. Because once you take this off, that disc has had it. So I probably won't do that until that one's had it. The belt, there's going to need to be some adjustment here. Obviously, I need to read the manual, just check adjustment knobs and see if there's anything in there. At the moment, that will not go to 90 degrees. Maybe I need to actually use it to sand the table so there's a notch. I think after a bit of fettling and a few months of use, and this is going to get a lot of use. So I've already got a few projects planned for it in the next week, getting ready for a craft fair. So it's going to get a fair bit of use. So maybe in about 3-6 months, I will put together another video, just giving my kind of a proper review, one based on use, not just on first impressions. But just to summarize the first impressions, for relatively cheap, it was, I think, £88 on Amazon. So I don't know what that is in kind of, well, so I don't think you can get Sealy as a model, but you can get similar ones for about $100 in the States. I had a couple of Amazon vouchers, promotion codes. So essentially I got a pile of belts. So that was 15 belts, 3 each of 80, 120, 150, 240 and 400 grit. So basically I had £10 worth of vouchers, so I had that essentially free. I'm excited to use this. This should be good. So this will be, I'm sure, propping up in a few projects. Just a reminder, if you haven't already watched it, go back and look at my most recent vlog, where I celebrate going through 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I also had an announcement for a giveaway. I haven't started on that giveaway yet. That is going to be actually a little video series in itself for the UK and Europe entries. So if you've not yet entered, go back, watch that video, make your entry. If you're outside of Europe, essentially it's going to be a little Celtic knot, which is already made. If you're inside Europe, it's going to be a spoon made from some yew. The piece of yew is actually sitting on my desk at the moment. I like sometimes to take a piece of wood and literally just have it in sight often so that I can look at it and get inspired by it. So this will get some use in the making of that. So go and check that out, make an entry, and yeah, keep a lookout for this in use. So far, I'll need to make some adapters. So 3D printer, I'll get the 3D printer. Currently, I took the 3D printer out of here, so you may have noticed the 3D printer was sitting about here. That's currently on the way to going underneath my desk. And that's going to happen soon, so I can get back on with the 3D printing journey. And so one of those tasks will be to make some adapters rather than buying them for my hose. So what I'll probably do is make some little U adapter so that can sit on there like that and swap to different sides. So yeah, so far so good. Thank you for watching. Please do click like and subscribe if you've not already, and hit that notifications button so you get reminded every time I do post a new video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. All right, so let's have a little look. Where do we get to? That's recording finished. So about 34 minutes of video to record down. Not too many blunders to take out. So that will probably end up, it'll probably be a long one. It'll probably end up about 15 minutes, maybe even 20 minutes, I would have thought. So keep a lookout for that one. I can turn that phone off now. It's getting warm, actually. It gets quite warm as you've been recording for a little while. Not as hot like some get. Yes, no, I'm quite pleased with it. I'm going to have to do some fettling on there. I'm looking forward to that. You know, the finer grits. So, for example, I've got this couple of old knives here. So these are ones I've had for years and years and years. This is my old climbing knife, and I want to put some. It was cheap and plastic. It was the cheapest, decently strong, sharp knife that I could get, that I could open one-handed. I really wanted a Spyderco, because they were the kind of ones, going back a few years, that were around at the time, that were really nice to handle. But I just couldn't justify affording one of those. So this is just nice that opens one-handed, but it's cheap plastic, stainless steel blade. But actually, that's suited because you get caught in the rain. Asking you what is something to turn into a pile of rust on your climbing harness. So I'd like to put some nice scales on that, and it could do with a bit of a sharpen. You know, if you're cutting ropes under tension, not kind of touching the void, sort of Simon Yates style, sending somebody to their potential death. But you know, if you have ropes that are under tension that need to be cut, then actually it doesn't take a stupidly sharp knife. I would say this is sharp, but not scary sharp. Certainly hasn't seen any attention in a long time. It's been quite a few years since I've done any climbing. This is an old German issue knife that I picked up just to kind of have as an additional knife, just in a bag somewhere. was kind of Army Navy stores. It ended up as a bit of a gardening knife. In fact, it's still covered in mud from the last time it was used in kind of a garden. It is blunt. It really is blunt. They're I quite like them because they came with a saw, and the saw is actually quite a decent saw. Short, you're not going to cut down a tree with it, but certainly for cutting branches, it was quite tidy. Obviously, a bottle opener and a screwdriver and corkscrew. I was finding it interesting on kind of military issue knives where they kind of decide to put corkscrews in. It's quite a few years. I think I paid £1 for that a long time ago, probably close to 30 years ago. So it'd be interesting to see kind of actually if I can tidy up blade using these. I'd like to do a little bit of blade work. I don't think Honor from Dies in Every Film Customs is going to need to worry. But it's be nice to kind of be able to tidy things up and do it mechanically. So I've only got 2 things to find a home for. And that's the other thing I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to find a home for this. I think it's fairly small enough. I've got a pile of junk over here that has just kind of built up for projects that I was planning to do. Got again a scrap of leather last week, which might get turned into a honing strap. Got a little heater. It's only a 45-watt heater, but that's helping nicely in here. So yeah, it needs a little home. I think, it's quite a nice height here. It's got little rubber feet, so it kind of it's nice and firm on there. The vibration is really quite low. I mean, the bench, I've got several bench grinders underneath, set with different configurations, and one of them, you switch it on. It's just you've got to clamp it. You have to clamp it down. It is not possible to even just stand it there and run it. I mean, it was cheap. In fact, I think probably both of the ones I've got are like that. So essentially, this is no different from a bench grinder. It's just got different outputs. So yeah, I'm liking this. Still got that new kind of smell. I'm wondering if that clips off. Yeah, there we go. I'm not sure that's necessarily going to be, how should we put it, by the book, to use that kind of sort of top edge for a bit of rounding. But I quite like the idea of that. At the the D&M Record Power show that I went to a few weeks ago with Dale from Maple Tree Studios, I did spend time looking, as well as looking at some others of these. I did look at Triton spindle sanders. So there's the little. I almost went for the little portable one because you can clamp it to a bench, and then there's the one, the belt and spindle sander, and of course you can get just the spindle sander as well. The portable was, I very nearly went for the portable. It was a good price. I think they were selling it for about £66. But it would have been that or this. I wouldn't have been able to get both. And so I kind of thought this will probably be, for what I do, will probably be more useful. Although spindle sander, I'm going to be putting a few bits on the craft fair table that my youngest is doing next weekend, and the policy has pretty much always been that if I make something if I earn money from making something with wood or whatever, then I get to spend that money back on making more things. So I get to spend money on tools and things. So that's kind of always been kind of a bit of agreement. So maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure how many things I will have. I'm going to have hopefully a pile of some literally tiny little bits of yew, which have got lovely grain. Don't know if you can see that. You can see the grain. I'm kind of thinking some of these, this one, this is really nice. So I'm going to split that down the center. I've already planned. I'm going to turn that into a couple of hearts. The grain on these is just so beautiful. And you take that up to even just 240 grit, and it just feels like glass. Although it's an interesting kind of wood, because sometimes you get little bits that are quite soft. So obviously it's a hardwood, but hardwood doesn't necessarily mean it's hard. And balsa's a hardwood. But sometimes you'll sand it really, really smooth, and then you'll find there's like a little scratch on it, and it's not because you've scratched it. It's just that there's kind of little voids, and it's not in the same way as you get kind of little voids in something like ply or pine, where it's kind of bits pulled out. So yeah, I think this is. Just going to try this on the side actually. That's nice. I'm going to like this. I really am going to like this. Yeah, some fettling. The belts are going to need more fettling than the. That. Just going to pick that dust up. Been a bit sniffly this week. Bit of a. Cold's going round, so been a bit coughy, a bit sniffy. Don't want too much dust getting in, making things worse. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the durability on this is like. Plenty of space there, so I'm not worried about putting a thing on there. I have been toying with getting one of the really cheap random orbital sanders. Amazon do it's kind of the Von House or the Tack Life. So I've been toying with one of those. So I've got some kind of flat sheet orbital sanders rather than random orbital, the kind of sort of square sheet ones. And they're okay, but I think actually random orbital would be. So I've got kind of one of these. I've got one that's twice the length. So I may swap that out for a random orbital because they're pretty rubbish, really. Yeah, there's a few tools I'd like to upgrade, but I can't justify. But a random orbital sander might be something that I can justify. We've also had some boxing in done in the house by the same guy who did the plastering, and so there's a couple of places where it'd just be nice to sand it just to make it a bit where two boards meet, and the difference in thickness of the board is kind of not particularly noticeable, but yeah, kind of you know it's there. Rather than just corking it, I might just take a sander to it so you get a flatter fit before corking. So a random orbital might give that a slightly nicer look. Right. Right, I've still got 8 people left. That's amazing that anyone's been watching, to be honest. Nice to see a few old names. Old names, they're young people. Why am I saying old? But it's nice to see. It's sort of something you don't always get as a teacher is to find out how people get on and where they go afterwards. You might know where they're planning to go, but sometimes you don't always get to know that they've actually gone off somewhere, or they haven't moved on to somewhere else. and what they do afterwards. So it's quite nice to see that in the comments. This afternoon I've got a in the house now. I need to work out how to change these belts as well. So I'm guessing that has to come off. I'm guessing that has to go in there. That's interesting. So that is just in there like that. The yeah, I've got a box, little tub full of little scraps down here. These are all bits of yew from projects over the last few years. In fact, there's a few others down here, some bigger pieces. So I'm going to make a bunch of key rings, and what I also am going to have a go at are those book thumb page opening. So it's kind of like almost like a wing with a kind of 3/4 of an inch hole. That's captured. Right, so that shroud comes off fairly easily. And it looks like the belts are fairly easy to change. Drop off the tension. I suppose I should put this in the video, shouldn't I? I may record another bit for the video in a moment. Yeah, so no different really than changing a man. That's quite interesting. Oh, yeah. There's a great big nut and bolt in there. So getting it off was easier than getting it on. If I'm missing something really obvious. That didn't sound good. That didn't sound good at all. I don't think that was supposed to come off. Really should have read the instructions, maybe. Sounded like this little C-clip coming off. It's in a box. It's not a problem. I just need to take that off there. Yeah, there's a little spring and a C-clip. Right, so I can see how that works now. Just to apply pressure to there. Lever on that would have been good. Right, luckily that. So I like by having exploded diagrams, you can actually see what's supposed to go where. Yes, yes, here's the belt tracking. What I should have done is read the instructions to say that when you want to change the belt, the reason for that big bolt down there is that that's a lever against a spring there. It's not too much of a problem. Now we've got a spring. I just need to see. Yeah, so it's interesting, there's a spring on that side, but make sure I don't lose that. One of the problems I've found a couple of times with this benching that I put in is that it's kitchen worktop. It's black. It's just a kind of Formica one. It's chipboard with a cover. But because it's black, right, I'm going to worry about stripping the thread on here. Let's do it without the spring. Right, that's in good order. That's I think it's got a rubbish thread. Tissue in here. Yeah, a couple of times, sort of. Yeah, it's like this. A lot of the nuts and bolts you find on things are trying not to cross thread this. I think it's got one of those propensity to be cross threaded. Yep, that is not wanting to go in straight. see if I've got a tap of the right size to go in there. Or put it in from the other side to clear it out. Let's see what size it is. I'm not going to bolt the right size. No, it just calls it an adjusting knob and doesn't give it a thread size. But it's threaded through okay from this side. Hey, that's good, Andy. It sounds... Oh, is this one of his invasions? That sounds good. I'll get for that. Yeah, because it's JP's that's the Ninja Master. Screw. Look at that. Take care, Andy. Say hi to Rich for us. Right, almost get back on. Just got to get that circlip. Not circlip, what do you call it? Call that a circlip. Jim, if you're still there, you're the engineering expert. C-clip, E-clip. Okay, Karam, thank you. Yeah, stick on play overnight. That'd be fantastic. Oh, come on. No, I think that's... All right. Ink. Yay. Right. I hate it when I mess something up like that. In terms of, oh no, I've broken it. But I like the fact that I can generally fix things, unless it's kind of, you know, plastic pieces broken. That's really annoying. But I don't mind it. In fact, in some ways, it's good to take something apart. Something I always forget to do is when you kind of buy a new lawnmower or a garden shredder, or one day I'll get a planer jointer. I always forget to kind of strip it down, particularly strip the blades out. Particularly after use. So I've got a garden shredder that used it. The blades really do need taken out, sharpening it. For the life of me, I cannot get them out. I'll have to strip down the whole thing to get it out. But we don't use it enough to warrant or to worry about that. Right. So now I now know that all I need to do is push that into there. So there is a difference between bandsaw and a belt sander. That's better, nice and quiet. And that you don't have to loosen off a particular knob to move the belt. Get that tracking right. All right, and that doesn't need to come out all the way either. Actually, it might do. No, it doesn't need to. That's good to know as well. Maybe I'll do a video. I keep looking at the screen. I'm used to having the camera up there rather than there. Yeah, it'd be nice not to break stuff though, Tony. That's the thing. Welcome back, by the way. Yeah, I managed to break the. I undid the tracking screw so far, but I popped the C-clip. Where are my C-clips? I really do need to go through and get all my little boxes and things labelled. So I managed to take the C-clip off the end of the tracking screw inside, and then the kind of cheap casting is threaded, and I couldn't thread it back on without risk of it I was going to cross thread on the back here, so that was going to cross thread. I could feel it, so I took it through from the other side a couple of times, and that seemed to clear it enough. Yeah, I think that's going to be a nice bit of kit. Hi, Steve. A particular brand. A brand that I do have bits of. I won't say which brand out here, just in case they've decided they want to sponsor me. But I do have some of their brand. And they had something like this, and I was really interested in it. But the plug was a Euro plug, and then they came with an adapter. And I don't mind that. I've got a few things in the house that have got that, but it's just so bulky. So still running smoothly. So all's well that ends well. Yeah, I suspect, Tony, that I probably will end up keeping that off, because I think that could be actually quite nice. Quick and dirty, cheap spindle sander. So that might get a bit of use that way. So yes, that might disappear at some point. Yeah, I can imagine the guard. Yeah, it ports out the vacuum. I do need to make better use of the vacuum. You know, you've got to look after your lungs, haven't you? I know they're replaceable nowadays if you're lucky, but that's really not something I'd ever fancy going through. Must do the best to look after them. But yes, it would only take seconds to change the belt. I wonder it would be quite easy to change those for a little thumb screw, just a short little screw rather than that. It would only take even then a few seconds. I think that will end up coming off. Yes. Yeah. Don't do as I do. Do as I say. Yeah. These ones, Steve. Those ones you're thinking of? Obviously, it depends. But no, they're relatively light. Obviously, it depends on what you put in them. These are good ones. These are cheap. I don't know if in Ireland you have there's a shop called Home Bargains. They were £2.70, £2.69, something like that. Very useful. These are Racco ones. I've got two different styles. One's with fixed full of nails. Check out this company, Wham. They're based in the UK, whamproducts.co.uk. They're a UK company. Their stuff is cheap. So they were £2.69 in a shop called Home Bargains. And then these ones over here, which are just out of sight. These ones, again, I think your problem is possibly going to be what you put in them, Steve. These ones I bought from Tesco's. Again, Wham products. They've got kind of the hinges in two parts rather because they just break. These are two part, and yeah, they haven't. The catch is quite firm. But I think part of what you're going to have to think about is what goes into it. I mean, that's 2 kilos because it's washes. Hi Dan, good day. I was going to suggest something to think about for you, Steve, might be kind of IKEA style. Yeah, very, very light, very, very cheap. I was going to suggest something like ice cream containers, ice cream tubs, or the kind of takeaway. You can get the takeaway dispenser sort of trays, the plastic ones, not the kind of foil card ones. You get those very, very cheap, and they're very, very lightweight. But that obviously then means that they're not as strong. It's kind of one of those sort of triangles, isn't it? A bit like, not triangles, those sort of Venn diagrams, where you have, you can have something cheap. You can have something, or the kind of quality, price, similar sort of thing to that, isn't it? If you want something strong and lightweight, it's probably going to cost you. Yeah, I mean, I have. I've got things like Cart Door and Tesco's own ice cream tubs. And one of the nice things about that is that they stack. If you get matching ones, they stack really nicely. If they're not matching, they don't. So, for example, up here, just behind that light, Kelly's clotted ice. Oh, it's such a hardship. Getting some of these things. Clotted cream and brandy butter ice cream. They stack quite nicely. So ice cream containers, they stack quite nicely. So that basically means if you had a shelf with a little lip, and you could almost just have a flap coming down, it would stop it sliding around, maybe. Cardboard, yeah. I would possibly look for something that's going to be, however, I've never yet. Another thing about catering. Lady I used to work with, her husband was one of the directors for a company that supplied frozen foods, and so a couple of times we needed kind of big containers, and she put in things like their mayonnaise containers were like buckets, kind of like 5 litre buckets. So if you know people that are kind of in the trade, ask around in kind of, pub kitchen might be adaptable. So you might be able to get, say, for example, a bucket, and then just make a divider from some stiff cardboard, and you've got 4 sections. But then you've got a lid to go on, and maybe then just something like some hardboard, so it almost has like so you'd have almost like then in your shelf or whatever, you've got like hole into which it can kind of locate, so that it doesn't kind of rattle around if you don't want it to rattle around. But cheap and replaceable, I would be looking at to go with the lightweight. Yeah, I mean, these things, they're nice, but I don't know. I think you're thinking about £15 each. Well, 15 quid's worth of ice cream. Yeah, it gives you, depending on the quality of the ice cream you go for. I mean, those are like £3 each. So cart door, you get them on offer. If you go for kind of own brand, Tesco, Lidl, whatever, you probably get one of those for £1. Right, what's the time? 10 to 3. Okay, I think I am going to go and get a cup of tea. Not sure if the rain has stopped. We've had absolute gales here this morning. Wind's still blowing a bit of a hoolie out there. Luckily, brick walls and a fairly solid door now has made it fairly soundproof in here. I hope, anyway. I can't hear it. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for being with me. Flavors. So, yeah, I'm going to go and upload my video off my phone onto PC in the house. I'm going to have a cup of tea, maybe a bit of cake. Kids haven't eaten it all. And then plan. I think my next thing to do is I might take some of this in with me as well. I've got to plan out some of these things. And what I'm going to do with these to turn them into something I can sell. So I'm going to try a couple of those thumb book wedgie things. It's kind of like a hole with it, so you kind of hold your book, holds the pages open, rather than trying to have to do it with kind of, rather than kind of trying to do that, you've kind of got something with your thumb through, so it holds. I'll do a few of those. Right. Okay. Thank you very much. I will hopefully get a video up, at least one this evening. I'm hoping to get in here tomorrow morning. I've got something booked for the afternoon, so I won't be making in the afternoon, but I'm hoping to get in here for maybe an hour or so tomorrow morning, maybe 2 hours if I'm lucky, and do some making. So yeah, if you're bored on Sunday morning, then pop in. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good weekend, and see you all later. There we go.